Hello there, it's Jo from Minerva. Today I'm going to do a little product review. So I'm going to show you how to use an unpicker. We all need an unpicker in our basic sewing toolkit because as much as we practice and work carefully, quite often we just need to reach for that unpicker so that we can get our project back on track. There are lots of different unpickers on the market and I have put lots of them in the product list below, but you might need to experiment and find the one that you find the best for you. So whether you're left or right-handed, whether you've got good grip, whether you're unpicking different types of materials, but all of the unpickers have a few things in common. I've got a few different types here. This is my favourite one. So it's got quite a small handle and it's got quite a small head, because I'm normally unpicking quite small areas and I don't want a really big blade because then I tend to sort of scoot through the fabric. So that's the one that I like to use. You can also get these little ones, you normally have a cover on, and this is about the same size, but they do go blunt quite quickly, but they still do the job. I've also got a larger one that I use for doing home finishings and stronger fabrics or more layers. So this one has a much bigger head than this one, but they've all got that little ball on, and that ball is to stop you going through the fabric, and I'll show you how that works. Before you unpick any seam, you need to remove any back tacking at the beginning and the end, because even if you get a good run of unpicking going, you'll come to a stop at the end. So I'm going to use the unpicker with the blade flat and go under these stitches at the end. I'm going to push the blade under and then if you twist the blade, it goes in flat, and then the sort of width of the blade as you twist rips the stitches. When you go on to the reverse, you'll be able to take out those first few stitches. So now you can start to take all of this out. Now, if it's a delicate fabric or you just need to take out one or two stitches where you've got a little pucker, then you can just take these stitches out one at a time. You can keep your blade quite flat. You can pull them out one at a time. That's fine if you're just doing a small amount. If you like the security of working from this wrong side of your fabric and using the blade flat, you could also try this method for a little bit longer by splitting a few stitches every sort of, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something. And if you keep splitting the stitches, you'll break that seam line. And then from the reverse, you can pull the thread and all these will just come out. So there's two really safe ways to do a small area. You can take the stitches one at a time, or you can break the row of stitching and then pull it from the reverse. Of course, when you get back to the end, you'll need to remove those back tacks, so you can do those one at a time. If you've got a longer area that you would like to take out, then you could also unpick stitch by stitch, but this time you can do it with the seam open. I didn't back tack here just so that I didn't have to keep undoing my back tacking, but you would undo your back tacking and then you would have the seam and peel it open to reveal the stitches and then take them out. And you probably take them more than one at a time. You sort of take them 2 or 3 at a time And it's a pretty safe way of unpicking because your unpicker is going away from the fabric. So you eliminate the risk of making a little hole in your fabric. And it doesn't take long. It does mean you have more little threads because you're making lots more cuts. You're making cuts in the thread line sort of every 2 stitches. But you can easily just pick those out afterwards, or you can get a little bit of tape, masking tape or washi tape, and stick it on and pull those out. So that's how you undo a longer seam. There's another method called to plough, and this is where you have to use the ball that's on your unpicker, and that ball is a little safety line, so you put your unpicker so that the ball is on under the seam, so you get a little bit of the seam started like we've been doing on the others, and then you put the unpicker so that the ball is here running along the seam, and that ball is holding the 2 pieces of fabric apart a little bit, and you have to keep a bit of tension on the fabric but what you're doing is you're putting the ball underneath the seam line, and then the blade is running along the stitches, and you're not really using the point on the end, you're just using the V bit in here. If you do it uphill, then you'll rip the fabric, so you need to make sure it's sort of running quite parallel, and you need to use your thumb and your forefinger to keep it all together. It's a bit counterintuitive because what you feel you want to do is keep everything apart so that nothing gets caught, but what you really need to do is sort of trust the unpicker to do the cutting for you. You get loads of little bits with this one, but you can use a lint roller as well, gets all those little bits off. Everybody's nemesis is to unpick some overlocking, and quite often we tend to not even bother unpicking it and just cut it off and reduce the seam allowance a little bit or find another way to do it. But you need to take the threads right off the ends so that you're really exposing the end of the stitching line. And it's really tempting to do what we've just done and run the unpicker along these overlock threads, but it's not the overlock threads that we want to undo, it's the stitching that comes from the right and left needle if it's a 4-stitch overlock. And you want to unpick the row of stitching that's along the bottom, because that's the one that's holding all the other threads down. And when you unpick this row of stitching, then all of this will just come off on its own. So it's not about cutting the overlocked edge, it's about cutting the sewing edge. And that's how you unpick an overlock stitch. I hope that's helped you today, and you'll be able to use your unpicker more efficiently when you do need to reach for it. Do make an account with us and head over to Minerva. You can upload your projects, or you can check out all of the projects from Minerva makers and see the events and special offers that we have on all of the time at minerva.com. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.